This is an interview for Edularity. Now that you say that we are doing everything wrong, have you seen around the world some examples of what we are doing right?
You know, Finland instinctively seems to make good decisions. And so this notion that they're going away from almost like majors like math and chemistry and things like that, and they're recognizing that the world is going to be very multidisciplinary and that it's a mistake to put people in silos. I think instinctively that's 100% right. And again, they've done that. The fact that in Finland, education is largely dictated at the city level, not at the federal level, I think that is very insightful. In this century, more and more decision making is going to have to be local. And if the government's going to participate in that local decision making, which it doesn't necessarily need to, but if it does, it's going to be at the city level. So I think that Finland running education at the city level is way, way ahead of their time.
What about of this idea of liberalism when you try to maintain the government as much as a part as possible related to education? Try to make a liberalist type of education where actually the people are the ones who are handling that.
Well, if we go back to the notion that I mentioned earlier of individual empowerment, I believe that the flip side of that is a reduced scale for government. And of course, this all is based on the writings of von Mises and Hayek and that whole Austrian school. Interestingly, though, Hayek believed that the state should fund education up until sixth grade. Now, what's interesting is, of course, that by sixth grade, the brain is fully formed, which theoretically would mean that the individual could take responsibility for future learning. So why would you put them in schools? Now, this is Hacker. This is not Hayek. But I'm trying to explain Hayek because I never saw where he explained why he picked sixth grade. But you have to remember that the last half of Hayek's career was heavily involved in psychology. So if you start thinking about the development of the brain and the psychologist looking at it and then talking as a political scientist, it wouldn't be surprising that he would pick about 11 years old as the point at which the state could stop.
Right, which is interesting because now there's people saying that the brain is not fully developed until 21. You cannot necessarily have full control of your emotional brain until you're 21.
Yeah, well, it also could be that the growth of the brain is somewhat asymptotic and that after a certain age, the curve starts to flatten. Yes, it makes progress, but it flattens like a power law curve.
Right. To me, it has been very interesting after learning about Hayek and Friedman, trying to get into different notions of liberalism. I also get at the same time into some other notions of education and what I call liberalist education with Ivan Illich and John Holt, who are actually playing against the school, against the state, and asking people to take care of their personal education or their children's education with the unschooling movement and the homeschooling.
Well, that notion is not so hard to believe. Many people say in the United States that the principal reason that we have schools still is that people need babysitters while they go to work.
Correct.
All right, so the schools are babysitters. Now, if you imagined a world in which robots were relatively inexpensive, the robots could supervise the children. They wouldn't have to go to school, and they could access all their learning just the way your girls have by homeschooling. And the robot would be sort of responsible for safety and discipline.
The interesting part here is that my children have done it for themselves.
Right. So, well, maybe the robots wouldn't have to work 24 hours a day to help the children. Maybe the children would advance to the point where they could take care of themselves. Well, we have to program them that way, that they're flexible.
Are you listening? Damn.